Hi everyone and welcome to Footy SA with me, John Casey, and what a big week it has been in football. A great show coming up. We're going to check out the SANFL state team to play against Victoria on Saturday, April 11. We're also going to relive all the highlights from round 2 of the Host Plus SANFL and what a comeback from Glenelg at the Bay against Norwood, and of course a rare draw between West Adelaide and Central District. And a little later we're going to show you one of the hottest young talents in South Australian football. He's certainly worth waiting for, so stick around for that. I'm with the Advertiser's #1 football writer, Andrew Capel. Great to be with you. What are we going to be reading about in the Tiser this week?
Good afternoon, Case. Great to be here. Obviously, the build-up to the state game. SA lost both matches last season against Victoria by 11 points at Tanunda and then 5 goals against the WA team at Adelaide Oval. So they were big shocks. The first time we've lost against those sides for some time. So there's a real feeling of redemption this year. So the SANFL's announced a 30-player squad for that. 23 will play, so that'll be a big build-up. Hoping to interview Zach Becker too, Sturt's premiership hero from last year. He's in that squad, obviously trained with North Melbourne in the off-season for a pre-season supplemental position. Missed out on that. Flynn Perez making his debut for Hawthorn, his Sturt premiership teammate today on Easter Monday. So plenty in the Tiser about that. And also the influx of AFL experienced coaches to the SANFL this year. Of the 10 coaches in the State League competition, 9 have AFL experience. They're bringing that experience to the competition, which is making it even better.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. So great stuff there. I'll tell you one thing that caught my eye over the weekend, well, certainly on Good Friday, was this incident post-game down at the Bay, where it seems that Norwood's Nick Rokar and Declan Hamilton weren't really on the same wavelength, giving up a 4-goal lead at three-quarter time. No doubt there was some frustration, but the thing that I really liked about it was Jacob McNichol, the captain of Norwood, stepping in there, just diffusing the situation and saying, guys, look, let's talk about this later after we've cooled down. Wasn't our day, but certainly Rokar and Hamilton were 2 of their best players. So interesting to catch that on camera for Channel 7 as well. Look, we'd love your feedback as well. You can drop us a line in the comments below on our YouTube page or check out all the socials as well. We're right there and would love to have your feedback. We're happy to answer any questions that we can and also hear what you've got to say about footy in SA. But let's get into the games from the SANFL in the Easter round. Started on the Thursday AC and the Eagles held off a fast finishing Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, they got well up, didn't they, early? The Eagles and the Crows came back and made a real game of it. 2 of their midfielder small forward types took the game over. Herbert, who was lucky to play again after last year, copped that bad neck injury when Harry Grant copped a 5-match suspension playing for Central at Woodville Oval. Missed majority of the rest of the years, come back in really good form, had more than 20 possessions, kicked 3 crucial goals. And Max Beattie, the round 1 star against the Panthers at Noarlunga, backed up his 5-goal, 30 disposal performance with another 22 touches and 3 more crucial goals. So those 2 midfielders / forwards were very influential in that victory.
Cook was great again as well, another youngster. So they're certainly building there for Sam Jacobs and the Eagles.
And Ethan Grace, I know we'll get to the state team later, but Ethan Grace has been the surprise packet recruit from the North Shore Bombers, AFL Sydney. Had a really good game first up against South. Followed that on the weekend with plenty of playmaking moves from the half-back line. He's been chosen in the SANFL state squad. So it's a great reward for what he's done in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, he's been a really good pickup. For Adelaide, Billy Dowling was probably their best for a second week in a row. 31 disposals, 7 clearances. He kicked 2 goals, 1 as well. And Charlie Edwards had 28 disposals, 11 inside 50s. Now, this is one thing that really I don't like, is the fact that these guys playing for the Adelaide Crows of Port Adelaide in the SANFL play consecutive games at high quality but don't get a crack at the A grade level, at the AFL level. Disappoints me because these guys are proving themselves. It's almost disrespectful to the SANFL that, yeah, you had 30 in the SANFL, but we don't think that's the same as being able to be up to AFL standard. And we've seen players do it week on week and eventually lose form and then get promoted into the AFL side, and they don't perform because they're out of form themselves. But if they're in form, I think you pick them and say, look, they've played that well, push them up and give them a crack. That's the way I would do it.
Yeah, they've been outstanding for 2 years now. And a lot of Crows fans are also calling for those players to play AFL this week against Carlton, obviously the start of AFL gather round. I think Edwards might be a little bit closer than Dowling, even though Dowling has been outstanding. He's shown before he can play good AFL footy, but we haven't seen Edwards yet. He's just a big-bodied midfielder who can obviously plays down half back a fair bit in the SANFL, but he's a gun midfielder as well. You'd love to see him get an opportunity. There's a chance it might happen this week.
I'll tell you what I did love as well was the Eagles. They're wearing the West Torrens jumper in the first half of that game and then wearing the Woodville jumper in the second half of that game. Just a throwback for all those older fans like us that love those old jumpers. And they do it annually, but every time they wear it, I think it adds another dimension to the game.
It's fantastic. And you're seeing photos from that game. You're right. In the first half, you got the Eagles jumper with the gold stripe, like the Glenelg guernsey, and then the gold and green vertical stripes of Woodville, the old Packers.
Great memories, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Well, let's move to Good Friday. 4 games on Good Friday, and let's start with the Channel 7 game of the week down at the Bay, Glenelg against Norwood. You were there as well, AC. What did you make of it?
Well, I thought Norwood, a real tough start for the year for Norwood. They were very unlucky to lose by less than a kick against Sturt, the reigning premier, at the parade in round 1 when they lost Jackson Callow early through injury. Last Friday, they were the better side for 3 quarters in a low-scoring game. And Glenelg was still finding their way to some degree with so many changes, losing so many premiership players under new coach Doc Clark. But when Norwood got 4 goals in front at 3-quarter time and Glenelg hadn't kicked a goal in the second and third quarters, you thought, 6 goals to 2, you thought the Redlegs would go on with the game. Glenelg had a decent breeze at its back at that quarter, but to kick 5 goals to only 1 behind in that last term, pinch an 8-point victory was amazing, and that is gone into the record books as Glenelg's lowest score at 3-quarter time to win a game. This is stat courtesy of Dion Heyman, the big Glenelg supporter and SANFL historian. So back in 1957 against West Torrens, Glenelg had 3 goals, 5 on the board and 1 narrowly. This time they had 2 goals, 6 and stormed home. So a real fillip for Clark and his young players. We heard Liam McBean interviewed after the game. He said, we didn't play our best footy, but it showed real heart and real faith in the playing group. And the same thing Doc Clark said afterwards. He was disappointed in their first 3 quarters because the synergy is not quite there yet, but to just fight against the odds and win that game. To be 2-0 now, they beat Port Adelaide at Adelaide in round 1. And Norwood 0-2. We wouldn't have picked that at the start of the season.
No, psychological boost for them as well. As you say, the Redlegs controlled that game for 3 quarters, and there were plenty of positives for them to take out of it as well. Amazingly, they haven't won there now for 9 years. Correct. And have lost their last 8 matches there. One thing that statistically caught my eye was the hit-outs. 60-32 to Norwood, almost double for Harry Boyd, yet the clearance is heavily weighted in Glenelg's favour, 46-29, or plus 17. I cannot work out, maybe it's counterintuitive that you can be twice as many hit-outs and significantly less clearances. Now, I don't know why that is, and I asked Rhett Bigland during the commentary on Channel 7 as a former ruckman of note, how does that happen? He didn't have an answer either, but you just wonder about what that means in the scheme of things. But the numbers get distorted so far that you think there's got to be something in that somewhere that teams can work with.
And Norwood's got a great midfield too. Look, full credit to Cam McGree, who was Harry Boyd's opponent. McGree had 22 disposals, almost double what Boyd had, and 9 clearances. He mopped up at ground level as well as getting the ball out of the contest. So that was a great performance from Cam McGree, one of his best in Glenelg colours. And you just wonder what Doc Clark's influence has done, being a former ruckman himself, how much that's helped McGree this year.
Yeah, good point that you make. Corey Lyons outstanding again, 25 disposals, 7 tackles, 7 clearances. Partington, McCarthy, McGree, as you mentioned, all good. I like the debutant, Isaac Hyatt. He looked at the level, 14 disposals, 8 tackles.
And Joel Teely, the former Sturt player, has come in, wasn't getting a game with the Double Blues last year in their fantastic one-loss season. And he was terrific on the weekend as well, kicked the goal that put Glenelg in front late in the game.
Yeah, his first for the Tigers. Yes. Very memorable performance. Norwood's Nick Rokar. Well, he was best on ground at 3-quarter time, 31 disposals, 7 clearances. We mentioned Harry Boyd, 48 hit-outs, 7 clearances, but 9 tackles. I like it. He works hard. He's a terrific pickup. Like you say, the Redlegs 0-2, but they still look like Final 5 material to me. I think that they're going to be playing finals.
At the start of the year, I picked Norwood and Sturt to play in the grand final. Obviously not a great start for the Legs, but they've got too much power. And when Jackson Callow comes back into that team, Mitch O'Neill out with a hamstring injury as well. There's still some real quality there. I think they'll be there when the whips are cracking.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's move to West Adelaide versus Central District. The SANFL's first draw in 3 years Both teams had their chances during the game. They're probably disappointed not to get the result, both teams, but probably a fair result in the end because West Adelaide made the early running, but then the Dogs got back and had a 2-goal lead into time on in the last quarter and couldn't close it out.
And Tom Scully, what a hero he was, former Port Adelaide player, West Adelaide junior, of course. Kicks the goal that ties the score with, I think, 8 seconds left from the forward pocket, more than the end of the ground. So that was a big-time moment for him. And given the fact Westies won only 3 matches last year, it finished bottom in 6 of the previous 7 seasons to actually, they're now sitting in 4th spot after 2 rounds. 2 very meritorious performances. Nathan Bassett has so far worked wonders with that group. He said at the start of the season that he liked the young talent. They had a lot of injuries last year, which held their development back. And now having a good coach like him on board, and you throw in Chris Burgess, who wasn't as dominant when he kicked 5 goals in round 1, but still played a significant role. Look, things are looking really rosy at Richmond.
That's a good point that you make, because I always thought the addition of Burgess, who now attracts the number 1 defender from the opposition, just takes a little bit of pressure off Scully. I'm a big rap for him. I think he's got huge potential, but every week he was getting the best defender. Sometimes the best 2 would stand on him, but now with Burgess there, they just can't afford to do it. But Kobe Ryan, he was excellent again for West, 26 disposals, 7 clearances, 6 tackles. Sam Frost, a welcome return from a long-term injury as well, with 15 disposals and 7 tackles. For the Dogs, McGarry Millis, Harry Grant, 28 and 8 tackles. Leighton Chisholm, really like his game, 23 disposals, 8 tackles, and Aidan Grace kicked 4 of Central's 11 goals. So they're still winless, but certainly promising signs for the Dogs.
I know with Westies too, I know Bass really rates their midfield. Ryan, Brady Searle is a part of that, and Cade Kennedy sort of goes under the radar, but he's a big rap for him.
Well, let's go down to McGain Stadium. South Adelaide's 150th anniversary celebrations included an important win over Port Adelaide by 16 points.
Tough loss in round 1 to South Adelaide. They didn't bring their A game against the Eagles at all, so it was important they rebounded. As you said, the 150th anniversary, big day for the club, the launch of the history book as well. Oscar Clavarino, the new captain, led from the front, from the back half with 12 marks, and I think Harley Sparks dominated again. I really like him.
Yeah, you mentioned him last week.
Yeah, from the Waffle. He played for West Coast previously. He's one of the few guys who stood up against the Eagles in round 1 and clearly was a standout again in the weekend. They got off to a flyer, then Port pegged them back, and then they kicked away at the end. Some bad news for Port Adelaide, of course, with Ollie Lord having kicked a couple of goals, doing his knee, his ACL. He'll miss the entire year now.
Yeah, that's really disappointing for the Magpies, because they've got their problems at the moment with that season-ending injury for Ollie Lord. But good to see Tommy Cochran return for the Magpies. He kicked a goal. I like Damon Pitt. Looks like a real find for them, kicking 2 goals. Jackson Mead back from the AFL. 31 disposals. Will Lorenz had 28 disposals, 9 clearance, and Dante Vizentini, 14 disposals, 35 hitouts, dominated in the ruck. From the South Adelaide perspective, I know I've been big on jumpers this week, but going back to the history of the 150 years and wearing a special jumper to mark the occasion, I thought was spectacular as well.
It's a great part for the SANFL, isn't it? As you said, the Eagles celebrated their 2 histories with Woodville and West Torrens jumpers, and South with their history jumper on the weekend. They're striking jumpers. They're great keepsakes. So for fans who can purchase one, please do.
And finally, North Adelaide against Sturt. Never headed the Double Blues. They win by 59 points. And Sturt's dual premiership captain and best and fairest winner down there, James Battersby, playing against his old team for the first time since the separation during last year's finals. There was a lot going on in that game.
And he was good. I think he had 22 touches or something, played well. Sturt, though, they've got so many players out. Will Snelling was out of this game. Mitch Croden hasn't played this year as he recovers from his ACL last season. Casey Voss got injured in the pre-season. He's out for some time with a shoulder injury. And yet they had 34 scoring shots. That prospect. And obviously North was so good against Central at Elizabeth in round 1. So for Sturt to do that again, with the injuries that they've got, they lost a half a dozen premiership players from last season through the AFL or retirement in the off-season, and they keep standing up. Tom Lewis, outstanding again. Martin Frederick was hampered by hamstring injuries early last year. He's fit. He's been let loose, had 31 touches on the weekend. And Tom Emmett, who had to fight to play, he got suspended last week, got that 1-game ban reduced to a fine at the SANFL Tribunal, and he was a standout as well. So I really thought Sturt might take some time to find its feet at the start of this year with so many changes in personnel, but they've hit the ground running. Big win against Norwood at the Parade in round 1, and now North a prospect. They haven't played at home yet.
Yeah.
So they are looking really damaging again.
Yeah. Tommy Lewis, as you mentioned, 30 disposals, 12 tackles, 10 clearances, and kicked a couple of goals. How he's not on an AFL
And probably
list.
3 McGarry medal votes.
Yeah, without a doubt. How he's not on an AFL list. Look, I just I can't believe that.
People talk about his pace and sometimes his skill work, but I'm very strong on this. We've seen players come in from the SANFL or the Waffle, get picked up pre-season or mid-season, become very good AFL players. They just need an opportunity. Sometimes clubs look for the athletic beasts and not the natural footballers.
Yeah.
We know Tom Lewis is a natural footballer. You'd love to see him play for your AFL team.
Yeah, and I think Manny Liddy fits into that category as well. From Central, the knock on him was maybe foot speed and skill-wise, but he's been able to find a home at Port Adelaide, and let's hope he's back from injury.
Well, we've seen Milan Murdoch this year get picked up from the Waffle, play for West Coast early until he did his hamstring and was almost their best player in his first 2 games.
Also great to see 5,200 people down at Prospect for the Good Friday Footy Festival put together by North Adelaide. Full credit to new CEO Keenan Ramsey and all the staff and the volunteers down there doing a great job. Their crowd just pipped the 5,100 down at Tigerland, but Andy, look, 5,000 plus crowds just gives you a snapshot of how healthy the SANFL competition is.
Fantastic. The weather was good and the crowds came, and the atmosphere, you were at the Bay as well for Channel 7, and the atmosphere down there was outstanding.
Let's have a look at the ladder. We take a look at that now, and 3 undefeated teams after 2 games. The Eagles on top by percentage. At the other end, 4 teams without a win after 2 games, and the AFL teams are holding up the bottom of the ladder at the moment. Now, no SANFL next weekend. We're going to be taking a break for Gather Round, and the SANFL state team is going to be taking on the Vics, looking for redemption. The squad's been revealed. What did you make of it?
Well, there's 15 newcomers to state footy in the 30-man squad. They're going to pick a final team of 23, I think. The squad will be cut to 26 after training on Thursday night at Unley Oval, and then the 23, obviously, with the 3 emergencies, will front at Glenelg Oval on Saturday. But 15 newcomers, so there's really been a changing of the guard. Obviously, the 2 performances last year weren't considered good enough by the SANFL hierarchy. So they swung the axe to some degree and rewarded form early in the year. Training 3 times this week on Monday night, Wednesday night and Thursday under new coach Marty Matner. So they're very, very serious about gaining some redemption for last year's performances. So I really like the squad. They're rewarding form in the first 2 rounds. Also history performances from last year's Advertiser Team of the Year, and also backed in some more youth with some more speed in the team.
So early in the season, you have to go on some credentials, don't you? It hasn't been a lot to choose from in terms of a form line. But Norwood and Glenelg each have 5 representatives. Jez McLennan, the only player from Port, and no Adelaide Crows there, which is unsurprising given the circumstances that they operate into. But it's going to be the men's state team, the women's state team, and the Slowdown as well. Just before we mention those, just harking back to last year at Tanunda, with the SA team going down to Victoria. We saw Lockie Hosey kick 5, McBean kick 5, but the Vics just had enough in the tank. So going to be quite a grudge match, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. They were outstanding last year, Victoria. SA had more scoring shots, but their ability to slingshot from the back half to hit the scoreboard was terrific. And Aaron Francis is one of the new players, has come across to Norwood this year from Sydney and Essendon prior to that. And Jed McEntee from Sturt's also on the squad. We touched on earlier, Grace from Woodville West Torrens. They're among the 15 newcomers. But look at some of these Victorian names too. There's a big SANFL flavour here in their squad, which obviously will be trimmed before the game. James Bell, Glenelg Premiership player. Luke Parks played at the Bay. Jackson Haitley, formerly of Central and the Adelaide Crows. Riley Bonner played in that game last year from Westies and Port Adelaide Power. Jai Menzies, the former South player, then was at Essendon, now playing for the Tasmanian team. Ben Hobbs, first round draft pick from Essendon's in the Victorian side. Jaden Stevenson, who trialled with Port Adelaide for an AFL spot in the off-season. He's playing for Coburg. He's in the VFL squad. Jed Hagan also played at Port Adelaide as well. So there's a real strong SANFL or high-profile AFL flavour in this VFL team. So on paper, the Victorian side looks every bit as good, if not even better, than last year. So SA needs to be on top of its game.
You sound a little nervous.
I'm very nervous, very nervous, because I really like this SA team.
Yep.
They have picked a fit, in-form, hard-running side. But this VFL team looks pretty strong too. So I think it's going to be a tight contest either way.
We think Marty Mattner's got his hands full, given that we've only played 2 rounds and he has to put this team together and make it work. How about Narelle Smith, the coach of the women's team? So she's got a squad of 25 and they haven't played a game yet. Their season doesn't start for a couple of weeks, but they've been slapped together. But when I interviewed Narelle Smith for Channel 7 down at the launch, she said, you won't find anyone more South Australian than me. She's desperate to win and she'll be doing everything she can to get them across the line.
And SA lost to the VFLW team at Albion Oval by 4 goals last year. So again, that's a redemption result, isn't it? But I am a bit nervous because both of us love South Australia. We love state footy. We're not used to losing these interstate state league clashes, so we really want to win this year.
Yeah, so all 8 SANFL women's clubs have been represented in the team, and I think South Adelaide have got the most, the reigning premiers, with six as well. And of course, after that, we've got the Slowdown, the Little Heroes Foundation raising money for charity, and I hope everyone can get behind this because it's always a fun afternoon. There's going to be plenty of activations off the field as well for you to go down and enjoy. But some of the big names that are playing in the game, well, they're not bad either. When you've got Andrew Jarman, Charlie Dixon, Abby Holmes, who was a great footballer before she became a great commentator, you have to remember. Hamish Hartlett, Dom Cassisi, DJ Checkers and Shrey are going to be there. So make a day of it. Get down there. That game gets underway about 6 o'clock. Always a lot of fun.
I'll have to drag Andrew Jarman out of my local coffee shop because every time I go in there, he's there.
And probably chewing the ear of someone, isn't he? No, it should be a great day down there. Really looking forward to it. Look, that just about wraps up episode 2 here of Footy SA. But before we go, we wanted to show you one of the brightest young prospects in the South Australian football community at the moment. He plays in the Amy Futures League at the moment. And this is now From the Outer segment where you can get involved, get something off your chest and maybe send us a question or tell us who you want to hear from as well. But I'm talking about Jacob McNichol from the Amy Talent League, I should say. Caught our attention this week, 32 disposals and 4 goals for Glenelg against Norwood to help the Tigers to their 3rd straight win. I think he's kicked 10 goals in 3 games. And we're keeping up to date with all these future stars. You can check them out at SA Next Footy on Instagram. It's a terrific resource being put together by a group of young guys who are doing a great job just promoting the young stars of the game. And we know they're the future and they're certainly exciting. We've got so much great young talent here at the moment, Andy.
It's outstanding. I'm going to have a look at the top SA under-18 draft prospects in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But you're seeing, even on the SANFL League level on the weekend, a number of young guys who weren't drafted. Tim Alva was very good for Glenelg against Norwood on the weekend. So if they can't make the AFL, we hope they do. They've got bright futures in the SANFL. And that's what the future of our clubs is all about, getting these young guys up to a certain standard. So if they don't play AFL, they can become long-term SANFL footballers.
Great to have you on board again.
Pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed the show as well. If you did, please like and subscribe to the podcast. Drop us a line in the comments below on our YouTube page. We'd love to hear what you've got to say. If you've got any questions, if you've got something you'd like for us to promote, get in touch. Have a great week in footy and we'll see you again soon.